So, what does a simple banana have to do with one of the most iconic revolutionaries in history? It sounds like a pretty weird question, right? But today, we're gonna uncover an incredible story about a corporate empire so powerful it didn't just sell fruit, it literally shaped nations, and in doing so, created the perfect storm for a revolution. I mean, just think about it for a second. What if a fruit company, a company that sells bananas, could get so powerful it could actually control entire countries? It sounds like something out of a wild novel. But believe it or not, for a huge part of Central America, this was very, very real. And we're not talking about an army with tanks and soldiers here, no. This was a different kind of power. Its arsenal was money, political connections, and total economic dominance. This was an empire that could literally install or topple governments, all while millions of people were just stuck, living in its shadow. And get this, right in the middle of all of this, there's this young guy on a trip just taking it all in. He saw everything, and what he saw would completely change him, turning him into one of the most famous symbols of revolution the world has ever known. That man was Che Guevara. So how on earth did this all begin? To really get the revolution, we've got to go back and understand the empire that, kind of by accident, lit the fuse. And that story starts with one very ambitious man. It all starts with this guy, Sam Zemmour. They called him the Banana Man. He shows up in America in 1891 with absolutely nothing. But he was smart. He sees other companies throwing away ripe bananas, and he thinks, hey, I can sell those. And from that one simple idea, he builds this massive business that stretches deep into the heart of Central America. But as Zemmour's company and its huge rival, the United Fruit Company, got bigger and bigger, well, that kind of ambition comes with a price tag. And it wasn't the guys in the boardroom who had to pay it. It was the people and the countries where they set up shop. And listen, the scale of this thing is just mind-blowing. We're not talking about a couple of farms. The United Fruit Company owned massive chunks of land all across Honduras, Guatemala, Colombia, and even Cuba. They weren't just doing business in these countries. For all intents and purposes, they owned them. You've probably heard the term banana republic, right? Well, this is where it comes from. And it wasn't just some catchy phrase. It described a reality where a single company was more powerful than the actual government. The whole country was basically being run for private profit. And this right here, this shows you the two completely different worlds that existed. On one side, sure, the company was building railroads and ports. You could call that progress. But on the other side, that progress was built on the backs of workers who were paid almost nothing, lived in horrible conditions, and had zero rights to speak of. Something like that can only go on for so long before it explodes. And in 1928, it did. Thousands of banana workers in Colombia finally had enough and went on strike for just basic rights. The response was horrifying. The military opened fire on the protesters. We still don't know how many died. That event, the Banana Massacre, became this terrible symbol of corporate power running completely unchecked. And this wasn't a one-off thing. The ultimate example of this power play happened in 1954. Guatemala had a democratically elected government that wanted to give some land back to its people, land that the company was using. So what did United Fruit do? They ran this huge propaganda campaign back in the US claiming the government was a communist threat. And it worked. The CIA helped overthrow the government, all to protect a company's bottom line. And that coup in Guatemala, that specific moment, turns out to be a massive turning point, because there was someone there watching it all unfold. And that someone was a young medical student from Argentina named Ernesto Guevara. Yep, the man we now call Che. At this point, he's not a revolutionary. He's just a guy on a motorcycle trip, trying to see and understand the continent he lives on. So what does he see on this trip? It's not just pretty scenery. He sees poverty that's just crushing. He sees inequality that's baked into the system. And he starts to see the one thing that connects it all: the overwhelming power of these foreign companies. He's putting the puzzle together right there on the road. And these weren't just things he wrote down in a journal and forgot about. No, what he saw changed him completely. It took him from wanting to be a doctor who heals one person at a time to wanting to be a revolutionary who could heal an entire continent. It's like you can literally see the transformation happen in 3 stages. First, he sees the suffering. Second, he realizes that corporate power is a huge reason for that suffering. And that leads him to a third, really radical conclusion. You can't just tweak this system. You have to tear it down and start over. And this wasn't just some philosophical idea he kicked around. He was ready to act. And he found the perfect place to put his new beliefs into practice: Cuba, another country under heavy foreign influence. So in the mid-50s, he connects with Fidel Castro, and together they decide to do the impossible: launch a guerrilla war to take over Cuba. And wouldn't you know it, against all odds, by 1959, they'd actually done it. And just like that, this doctor from Argentina becomes a global icon. His face is suddenly everywhere, a symbol for rebellion, for revolution, for anyone fighting back against what he saw as corporate and imperialist oppression. But here's the thing about Che. Winning in Cuba wasn't the finish line. For him, it was just a first step. He was convinced that this had to be a worldwide revolution. So he actually leaves Cuba to try and start similar movements in other countries. And that mission is what eventually takes him to the mountains of Bolivia. There, in 1967, his campaign ended. He was captured and executed. So when you trace this whole epic, history-changing story all the way back to its roots, it's almost unbelievable. It all started with bananas. From bananas to immense corporate power to a revolution that changed the world. This really isn't just the history of a company or a man. It's a powerful story about how economic influence can become political power and how that power can shape nations and alter the course of history forever. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Can the biggest revolutions, the ones that change the world, truly begin with something as small and ordinary as a banana?